the progress into the screenplay that works not only for the writer or not only for the training, but for more people.
Absolutely.
And I think this core paradox idea, which I think is not fundamentally different, but maybe more practical or maybe more simple to start with, different from what is written in many, there should be more, but a few screenwriting manuals on character development, which I think generally distinguish between physical, psychological, and social features. So yeah, you can diversify or detail or specify then the core, and eventually, if there is, or if there has to be a paradox, the features that are paradoxical within those cards, I think, that have been used for ages, be it biographical cards. How do these characters fit, or how does this character fit? Or work,
I mean,
how
yes.
does it relate to other characters? Perhaps, maybe, the last part, because physical, psychological, social, the last part, how do characters relate to other characters? How do these relations remain the same throughout the story, and how do they change? That might be a component that is not explicitly present in the core paradox.
Yes, because it's not about that. It's not about that, because the methodology is helpful because we are talking about things that happen before deciding really in the story how relationships works. And one of the exercise I have them doing is I ask them to create two characters with core and paradox, and then to put them in a room together to test, and talking about the weather or talking about family or talking about hobbies, and to see how they react to each other, what they go along with, what they crash with, because then the students can understand if they want to use that kind of brain in that kind of situation for the story. So in a way, everything that has to do with the story and the world of the story comes a little bit after, when they started thinking, okay, which kind of personality do I need? And generally it happens that when, in fact, they put two kind of people, brains, in a room and they start making them interact, they discover levels of conflict that sometimes generate story. And sometimes they find, oh, okay, this actually doesn't work. I had to change a little bit the current paradox of that character, because then they clash on exactly what I need for my story as a relationship, really. We're talking about, right? We're not talking about plot. We're not talking about anything that goes then constructed. So I agree with you. Of course, the characterization of the character we use is there like forever, naturally. And thank God, because we need that. We need all the help we have in building characters. But this is not about that. This is not contrasting at all that this is only a method to help the young writer think about stuff faster, in a more effective way, because they get lost entirely. It's a matter of helping them having coherence and have a little bit of a compass from where then to build all the rest. And when they don't understand exactly how it should be, they can go back and retrace their pace, and see how maybe some scenes they don't work because they're just not coherent and relating to everything that was before. So it's really a methodology. Is not a counter philosophy or anything like that. It is something that wants to shape a little bit the steps that the students can take to have it a little bit easier, And also because, to be fair, our students, I don't know in your institution, but my students are, requested to write screenplays very fast. I mean, really, really fast. So they don't know how to do it. They are learning the concept yet. They are trying to figure out which theory of screenwriting might help them or not. And they have to produce ideas. And then they, very, very fast. And they get really lost at times.
Could I dramatize this for a second, and then you tell me how you'd respond? I want to take the example of Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol,
yes,
which is it's a novella, I guess. It's almost not a short film, but so a student comes to you named Charles and he says, I saw this guy that he's so unhappy and he clings to money all the time. I'm wondering if this come up with a story for this character so that I could see if he could go through a change. So with this methodology, you would say how would you handle it with this approach?
Okay, so first of all, this is something that happens to me all the time. Because the students comes to me and they say, yes, my character, he's very nervous and he's this and that. So my first question is, okay, let's pause a second and let's try to figure out why this person clings to money. Why? What is the kind of quality one person has to have as personality to have this need of clinging to money? It is because makes them insecure, maybe. So the clinging of money make the person feel that they have security in their life. Is it because is just greed and the point of their day is to actually make money, and that's it for the pleasure of winning or or it is sense of superiority? What is it? Is it just because it has been taught and automatically it is a cultural kind of thing? So if you go back, you ask yourself, is it just, is the person doing it? Again, the first thing that comes to me is insecurity, of course, but it can be a lot of things. And then I ask, okay, so if you have a person like that, which kind of paradox would help you to enhance what you want to do with the story? And so we start thinking about, so what do you want to do with the story? What you think that it would be interesting for you, the character, to go towards? Do they change because of a sudden something is addressed? Certainly. So what it could be? So the paradox could be that they just are, let's say, passionate. Let's play that way. They're very passionate, but because of the core that made them be greedy, they are completely lonely and they never found anybody to love them, but they are passionate. And then they have this inciting incident when something starts and they realize that, oh, actually my paradox woke up. I'm passionate about this thing. And it clashes with their core because the core is making them be, let's say, greedy. So come a moment when the two things clash. Or if the person is insecure, again, it clashes because I'm insecure. I will not move. I have my way. I feel safe there. But I'm passionate and I want these things or this person or whatever. And again, it creates conflict. So we start to work it in that way. And it is always a back and forth with what is proper for what you want to do.
So the core, might identify the core as
the fundamental driving force of the person, the strongest quality they have: rational, passionate, driven, caring, self-centered,
obsessed.
I mean, it can be anything that then you use in order then to translate it into something that they are doing daily, that is their normal, routine or something. But what I always say to the students is, okay, because they ask me, so how do I manifest the core? There are two ways that are very simple to manifest the core. The way a person reacts to the inciting incident that create the main tension. Like, do they react in a rational way? Do they react in a nervous way? Do they react in a passionate way? Do they react how? And therefore, which kind of wants do you have because of that? And the paradox is always, in a way, something that is the second thought. Another example that I always give. Imagine that Jonathan goes to his girlfriend and it's evening, it's a beautiful evening, he strolled there, very happy, she's in front of the house and she's sad. So Jonathan is a very caring person and he's also very driven as a paradox. He's very caring, loving. And they meet and he immediately goes like, what's wrong? What's happening? And she just, spills the bean and say, well, we are pregnant. So the first reaction of Jonathan is, it's great. It's amazing. I'm going to be a father, caring, loving, supporting. Then 2 minutes later, that he's going home, or an half an hour later, he's walking home and he starts to go, oh shit, I mean, and now all my plans, I had to go to university, I had to do this, I had to do that, how am I gonna do these things? The paradox kicks in, big deal, and immediately you have a story, because you know that the problem of Jonathan is gonna be, well, how do I put these things together? My driven side of me that has all these plans and I'm going there and places, and the fact that life now put me a child on the way. So, that is how generally they work it, and slowly it emerges in what they want to tell and how that personality, current paradox brain, basically could help or make it more interesting, because it's always about storytelling anyway.
Right. So, okay. So in that situation, I'm sorry, anybody else chime in? I'm trying to get a sense of it. So in that situation, the story that gets yielded potentially is Jonathan decides to make it work by, I don't know, recruiting the kid.
Anything, you see, Paul, you see, it can be anything, because this can take it to Jonathan decide to make it work somehow, and these are the problem, the conflict, and the things. Jonathan decide to tell her, honey, I really love you, but I have all these plans. We cannot have a child now. Or Jonathan decide to drop the plans and be a dad, because that is the important things to do if you put the character in the proper culture.